Hello folks, call me drinking a drink here. Larry here, and welcome back to Larry's Fountain Pen. I've had a request from some of my viewers about making a nib witter. Well, on this part of the video, I'm going to talk about how I do it to make my nib witter. And then the next video, I'll break it down and show you what I actually do to make it wetter. Do I make all my nibs wetter? Not really. I make some of them. It just depends, I guess, my mood, how I feel about making that pen wetter. But let me suggest this to you. Never start learning how to do any type of work on a high-end pen or a mid-range pen. I would suggest, a lower range pen like, $1.99, $5. You can do like Jinhao, Hero, somewhere along that line. So that way if you mess up a pen, the nib, well, you're not going to be out a lot of money. But there's a few ways you can do it. Let me just show you real quick on this pen. Here is your feed. You got it? Okay. One thing you can do is you want to make sure that that channel is cleaned out really good. You don't have any kind of particles or nothing in there that's could get in the way of the ink flow. So that's real important. You can get a knife or something. Now, be careful, because you don't want to make it too wide. And you can cut in there and get it wider to get more ink in there. At least that's what I've done before. And it worked out well. First 3 times it didn't work out. So that's one way, but make sure your feed is really clean. Get a soft brush and clean it real good. And now remember, when you're working on that inside of that feed there, that this is where all the ink comes out and goes into your feed, and it just goes into the nib, and boom, you got your ink flowing. So be careful. Do it gently. Take your time. Don't hurry, because once you mess up, it's ruined, done, kaput, gone. And then I would see if, once you put everything back together, if it's wetter to your liking. And then the nib. If you prefer not to do this at first, and I don't usually do this step first. What I do in there, I get my nib, and I'll stick I don't have it with me, shim down the middle of the times in there, split it apart, and I'll leave it overnight. And the next day or next 2 days, I'll come back, take out the shim, and put it back together and ink it up and see how the ink is flowing if I've got a wetter nib. Sometimes I don't take the nib completely off the feed. I'll leave it on the pen, and I'll just stick my little shim in there and leave it in there overnight. How long? That just depends. I may leave it overnight and try it the next day, see if it's wet enough. If it's not, put it back in and leave it another overnight and see what I get. So, while I have it out, let's go ahead and do it right now. I was going to make a part 2 video of it, but I'll do this right quick. Kind of stick it in there. And sometimes I will just pull it through 3 or 4 times and then try it to see if it's wet. And then if not, I will just leave it in there overnight, check it out the next day, and do it step by step. But I would do it that way first. That's one way. I always start with my nib first. I clean out my feed. I don't try to do any cutting in the channel first. I leave that alone. I just make sure it's cleaned out first, and I start with my nib. Then go from there. And another way you can do it, you can get your nib and put it on the finger and just put some pressure on it, not a lot, until it opens up. As you see the times, you see them opening. Can you see that? Mr. Announcer, are you seeing it? Okay, let me know. And just, count yourself, 1, 2, 3,000, 4, 5, 6 seconds, 2, 3 seconds. I do 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever. And then I'll see if it's going to write any better. Then I'll try it again. If that's not going to work, I'll get the cap. And I'll do the same process, the same thing. So, that's another way of doing it. So remember, you first want to go ahead and pull it out if it's friction fit. And make sure that your feed's clean. I wouldn't do anything else to the feed right now. Then I'd go work on the nib first, as I showed you. Take your time. Don't rush. You want to be good to your pens. Take care of your pens, because they depend on us to maintain them, right? Right. And then put your shim in there, right, like I just showed you. Try that first. It may take 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And or you can do it the other way. Nib to your thumb and press it down gently. Try that a few times to get it to right wet. And if that doesn't work, you can put the nib on your cap and try that. So here's what I would do then. First thing I would do, my pen's not writing wet. Well, I usually go this way first. That's my first step. I'm going to try that. That doesn't work, then I'll try this one. That doesn't work, I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to make sure that feed is clean out real good. And then I'll try it again. And then I'll try it again to see if I'm going to get any results. Because sometimes you do get some results doing it this way. I haven't had much luck doing it this way, but I've gotten some results doing it this way. And if all this fails, then you'll have to pull your nib out and get your shim ready, and then do as I just showed you previously. And take your time. You don't want to get those times out of alignment. Here's your times. You don't want them to do this or that. You don't want to spring them. If you see them do this, you might want to just kind of bend it on that wing back so it'll come, when you push down on it, make it come back into place. Again, don't work on any of your favorite higher end pens or mid-range pens. Get a inexpensive pen and start learning how to do this. Sooner or later, it's going to come in handy and save you time and a few bucks. Now, to be honest with you, I do not, this is me saying it, I do not do this to my high-end pens and even some of my favorite mid-range pens. Because if I mess it up, there goes my pen. I don't do that. Like, let's say for instance my Monteverde Sequoia. beautiful pen, one of my favorite. I do have a different nib in there. The Monteverde, it's a black nib, but it's the, is that the broad or the one? This is a broad nib on this one. And it writes really nice. And my other one, I did put the Noodlers in there, the Flex, and it writes really nice. So it is wetter with this nib. You can do that with some of your nibs. Change them out, number 6 nibs, and they work just fine. On my Jinhao 159, this is the regular Jinhao nib that comes in it, and it writes fine. Is it real wet? No, but it's not dry either. It writes decent. One of my favorite Jinhaos right here, the 159. I like the girth. I like the way it writes. So, but any of these pens will take a number 6 nib. And the 750, I have the Goulet medium black steel nib in it. And it writes really nice. I did make it a bit wetter. So those are some of the ways that I've done it. So how did I learn how to do this? By watching other videos. And not just one reviewer. I've watched several people showing how to make a nib wetter. I even checked out some of Goulet's. He's helpful as well. But you'll find all sorts of information on how to do this. It's kind of, I don't know, kind of scary at first, because, at least for me it was, because first time to do it, can I do it? And you know, yeah, I messed up on a few nibs, but then I've learned from there. So it's a learning process, right? And you got to start somewhere. You got to start from A to get to B, from B to get to C, from C to D, etc., etc. But once you get the hang of it, you got it. And if I can do it, you can do it. Just grab yourself a low-end pen. You know, grab a Jinhao if you have one handy. Start on that. And start from there. Well, I hope it's been helpful. Let me know what you guys think, if this is helpful or not. But anyway, that's how I do mine. And I'm pleased how mine come out. Well, that's it. I mean, I can talk all day long, but now the thing is, grab yourself a fountain pen that doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and give it a try. But remember, once you start doing that to a fountain pen, and if it's in warranty, that's going to take out that warranty. It's not going to be covered probably because you've messed with the pen. And some manufacturers are real picky about that. You know, if you're having that much problem with the pen that you just got, and it's dry, it's not wet. Well, I forgot to mention, also check your inks. Clean out your pen, wash it out real good, and then try some different inks. Monteverde is really a nice ink. I like using that a lot in my pens. It works really well. Diamine is another one that works really well with fountain pens, and there's several others. But these are just a few I thought I'd mention now. So, okay, here I am real quick. I want a wetter nib. My pen's not writing very wet, kind of dry. Well, first of all, I'm going to wash that nib out real good. Then I'm going to try one ink, If that doesn't work, I'll try a different ink. The lubricated inks, I think, work the best. But, any ink will work just as well. It just depends on the individual. I have the Mont Blanc inks, I have Pilot inks, I have Noodler's inks, Sailor inks, Bumbox inks. I got a bunch of inks. And some inks work better than other inks in my pens. All pens aren't alike. They may not work well or interact well with one ink, so you try another ink and then they work better. Well, now remember, once you try that and you're still not getting the results you want, then we go into what I was telling you about. Flush that nib out real good, and then you want to do the thumb and the nib. See how that's going to come out. Do that a few times. Don't put a lot of pressure. It doesn't take a lot of pressure. If you do, it's going to spring the nib, so it's not going to be my fault. It's your responsibility. Those times can go bang, so you don't want to put a lot of pressure on it. Just for a few seconds, pop it up, and then try it again. Do it 2 or 3 times. If it's not going to work, then put the nib to the cap. Try that again. If that's not going to work and you've already changed out different inks, and now you're getting frustrated, and you're throwing up your arms, then you're going to have to take out the nib and feed. Next, what do you do next? Get a soft brush and make sure your feed's cleaned out real good. And you want to look at that nib first. Get you some eyewear so you can look. Make sure there's nothing in the times, any paper or stuff that could get in there when you're writing. That could clog up that nib too and not make it write as well and not as wet. And then you want to put your nib and feed back together, put it back in the pen, ink it up, and test it. That doesn't work, then you want to start the process. Let's make it wetter. Put it to your fingernail like I showed you, very gently, lightly. Now it doesn't take a lot of pressure. You want to make sure you're paying attention, get those times split just a little bit, and then you can count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Stop. Try to write 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. Try to write. Okay, that doesn't work. Then you bring in the pen cap, and you can do the same process on the pen cap. Last but not least, that's not working. Now you're frustrated. Now you're going to have to go in there again, take out the nib and feed. This time, that's when the shim comes in. You're going to stick it in between the times. And I usually let mine, believe it or not, for 24 hours up to 36 hours. Leave it like that. Then ink it up and see how well it writes. But you always want to check those nibs to make sure they're in line. You don't want them to look like that. You want them to look like this. But if they're too close together, you're not going to get enough ink flow down there. That's going to make your pen write kind of dry and skip. You're going to have to just keep checking on it. Take your time checking that nib. Checking. Take your time. Don't rush it. It's when you start to rush it, that's when it's going to all mess up. So, that's the next step. So as soon as you do that, I've done it with the nib and feed on, stick it on there, and I've done it because I had to take out the nib completely and just put it on the nib itself. And last but not least, if it's still not wet enough like you like it, then you're going to have to get yourself a blade and kind of go up and down that channel. Be careful. Do it a little at a time, and then check your flow. Don't get in there and do all that, then put your pen back together, and then you're going to go ride and all this ink falls out because you made it the channel too wide. So, that's how I would do it. That's how I do it today. It works well for me. Now, you may have some others that disagree. That's fine. But I was asked a question. That's how I do it. It works for me, and I'll continue doing it my way. It's whatever works best for you. But, watch other reviews on that as well. Give you ideas. You may pick up a little bit from me or a little bit from him or her or from Goulet also. He's good at that. I picked up a little from everybody. I must have watched 20, 30, 40 reviews, and I must have watched over and over again to really get the idea in my head, to get the picture going, because, when you're going to be working on your nib like that, now you're getting into an operation, and it's going to be serious. So, you want to make sure without a doubt that you got your ducks all in a row and you're ready to tackle it. It's not rocket science by no means. Once you do it, get the hang of it, you're going to say, wow, Larry was right. It is easy. So, I hope this really helps. I really, really do. Because, I'm like you. I love fountain pens. That's my total heart. I write with them every day. I give you my word, every day. Write. Well, that's what they're for, right? To write with. All right, my friends. I'm going to shut it down now, and I hope this helps you. And you want to help me? Share my videos with your friends. Tell your friends about me. Let them know, hey, the Pen Bud Guy is alive and well, at least for now. And before I go, let me bring in my rock star in here because he has to say something, right? One more time. Hey, Mom. Get it. Hello. Everyone do one more time. Hello. This guy rocks. Be safe, my friends, and don't text and drive. I'll catch you later. Peace out.